Well, hey there fam, my name is Aobakomori and this is the Faith Talks podcast. Now, as you can see by the title of this video, this is an episode that's not like any of the other ones I've done previously, but I just needed to do this, especially because of the times we're in and this the situation at hand with rape culture, femicide and gender-based violence. If you're a man and you are listening to this and you become uncomfortable, good. If you're a woman, I'm sorry. If this makes you uncomfortable or angry or proves your suspicions about men right, I'm sorry that has to be the case. This is going to be a story time type of thing where I just speak about something that happened today. I'm recording this on Saturday, the 27th of June. So today I took a walk for the first time ever since lockdown started. And then so on my walk, I came across two women. And the first one was wearing a short skirt, but then I looked away immediately because I was actually praying. I was spending time with God. So she was there, and then I just looked away for a bit. But then the second one, I could not really ignore. She was dressed fine, she was dressed appropriately, if you want to say it like that. She wasn't revealing anything or whatever, but she was approaching me on the street, and I noticed her at first, but then I looked away, but then I looked again, and then this is when it all started. So I looked at her, and then I started noticing her even more, and I started looking even longer. And at that moment, and I noticed that she's beautiful and attractive. So then I think I stayed a bit longer than I needed to. And then this is when I realized, and then I'm going to be completely transparent and honest and open about what happened, especially in my mind and with my body and everything. So please, if you are a sensitive listener or if you're easily triggered, be advised that I'm going to be totally transparent with what is happening with me in that moment. This is so that men can identify some thoughts and patterns that they have allowed in themselves, that we as men have allowed, and some tendencies that actually go unnoticed as men. So I saw her like we were walking, and then I saw her, I noticed her, and then I looked away because I was still I was just done praying and everything. But then I looked again, and then this time I stayed a bit longer than I needed to. So I gave in to the thought, and I'm gonna be honest and say, at that moment, I got aroused, and that's when I realized, oh my word, what am I doing? That's when I realized that, oh my word, she must have felt totally uncomfortable. Whether or not she realized if she had realized that I was staring at her longer than I needed to, she probably felt uncomfortable and unsafe in her own street, in her own neighborhood. She was just dressed normally in a jean and a shirt, And that's when I realized in that moment I had the power to decide what to do in a situation like that. I apologize if there's any background noise happening. There are renovations happening, so I can't really, I can't really do much about it. But anyways, so like what happened was, so I just, where was I? So then it was in that moment that I realized that I had the power, or I had the full capability to do whatever I wanted to do in that moment. I had the choice to choose whether or not I would look away and walk away, or I would approach her, shoot my shot, or I would make some type of remark to let her know that I noticed her and her beauty or whatever, or I could have approached her and forced myself on her. In that moment, I realized that as a man, I had that, not that I had the choice as in a privilege, but I had the capability to do any of those things. Luckily for me, I have been on like I've been on a journey of eradicating lust from my life, because ever since I stopped watching porn, I realized that I still struggle with the thoughts and the images and the lust. So I chose to look away and just not do anything with it. But then I realized that the fact that I let myself stare at her to a point where I was aroused, and it's like it just, that's when I realized I'm actually part of the problem. That's when I started to understand a little bit better, even though I'll never fully understand it, but I started to understand a little bit better what women talk about when they say that they can't even walk in the street without fear of some man looking at her or saying something or approaching her. And man, that really, like, that really shook me, because I was just like, I was just walking the street. All she wants to do is walk in the street and do whatever she needs to do, whether she was walking to the shop or whatever. But then here I am, a man, making her feel unsafe by looking at her. And it's because this type of thing has been normalized, or actually it has been fueled by a couple of things that we as men have allowed or not paid attention to. The first one is when you're walking with your friends and you see a girl, you talk about her and like, oh, she's beautiful. And then, because I've been in a scenario where I was with a couple of guy friends and we saw a girl, and one of my friends encouraged the other friend to shoot his shot, to approach the girl and ask for her numbers or whatever. I won't say who it is. I don't even remember who exactly was there, but I remember being in that scenario. So he approached her and she said no and walked away. And then he came back, and then my friend actually said, ah man, just go to her, she's just playing hard to get. I mean, this was probably like 2 years ago. I mean, at that time, I didn't think, no man, just leave her alone, like you're violating her. At that time, I was like, oh, at that time, I was passive about it. And I realize now that is actually making me part of the problem of rape culture, that you are allowing, that you're actually encouraging your friends to actually do that sort of thing. I mean, that's when I realized that, wow. So that's one of the things that actually causes it. this thing of encouraging each other or letting each other speak about women in a certain way and see women in a certain way. And the next big problem that I personally have had experience with is porn addiction and lust. Ever since I was introduced to porn in grade 4 or 5, the way I see women and the way I think about women changed completely. And it's not just about porn, like porn as porn, but even in some of the TV shows and movies we watch, the sexual content that is on popular movies and series, and it's a lot. Let me just say that. It's a lot. And because of my history with porn addiction, I struggled for a very long time. When I became a Christian, I struggled so much to overcome porn addiction. First off, there was a big enough mountain to climb and thing to overcome. And once I overcame it, I thought it was all over, but no. Lust comes in. The thoughts still stay there. So, like, back to the story. What happens, even if as a man you don't approach a woman, because I'm a shy person, so I probably wouldn't have approached her. But one thing I want us to settle and understand is that sexual attraction is normal. It's human. God made us to be attracted to a person of the opposite sex. That is normal. But what can be wrong, and actually sin, what can be wrong is what happens after. Is what you do with that attraction and those feelings and the feelings. Because I could have decided to fantasize. I could have let myself fantasize about her, think more and more about her, and luckily I'm at a place of my journey where I'm learning how to actually come against all those lustful thoughts and how to free myself from being a victim of lust. So luckily for me, I did not. I am not entertained. I did after I realized, I was in the wrong. After I realized, I'm aroused. This is not right. I stopped. But if this was me 2 years ago, I would have fantasized about her. I would have thought more and more about her. Because the funny thing is that about this encounter, as I'm speaking about this encounter, is that I don't even remember her face. I don't. But what I do remember is her body. And unfortunately, this type of behavior or tendency is because of what I've been exposed to before and what has been normalized by society, or what has gone unspoken of between men, because we don't like speaking about things. But these are the things that are going on in my mind and in my body. So then I didn't even see her for who she is, a human being. I didn't see her face. I didn't in that moment I was all I was thinking about was her body. I didn't even look at her to see if she's having a good day or not, or if she's happy, or if she's scared, or what's going on. Not that it's my responsibility to, but the fact that I didn't see her as a woman, as a human being first. I saw her as a temptation first. That's the first thing that came to my mind when I saw her, and that scared me. That scared me because it means that in that moment, I did not value her as a human being. And with me being in that state, because of my arousal, a scientific fact actually is that when a man is aroused, a lot of blood actually rushes down there, which is why it increases in size. When you as a man find yourself in that space, in that space where you are aroused, it's not easy to think straight or clear, even if you are a person who has a good moral compass. But when you let yourself indulge in the lust, you won't think straight. And that's what I experienced. I was like, for a second, I did not think straight because I was looking at her body. I became aroused, and in that moment, I could have done anything. I could have approached her. I could have forced myself on her. I could have made her feel totally scared. And yeah, that just scared me. And I feel like, sure, the problem with rape culture is the actual rape, but there's a lot that leads up to that. Because as I was saying, if I had decided to fantasize about her, if I had decided to fantasize about her, and even, who knows, masturbate or whatever the case is, I because of me permitting my lust to take over me because of my porn addiction. As a man, if you let yourself fantasize about women in that way and objectify them to a point where you only see them as creatures for your pleasure, or as temptations for you to get some pleasure, that is how you get. And you building that up and up and up, you letting that go on, actually grows and grows, like actually allows that mentality to grow and grow, and then you find yourself violating a woman or forcing yourself on a woman. There's a story of a man. I read a book this other time. The book was, I think it was Spirit-Filled Temperament by, I don't remember the author. I'll put it in the, I don't remember the author, but he told a story about a man. A man who was a good Christian. He was a good man. I think he even had a family. But then all of a sudden one day he raped a little girl. And when he was speaking to a psychologist or whatever, or to the cops, he says, I don't know how I ended up raping her. I don't know what happened. I don't remember what happened before I did the thing. And then through some sessions with his counselor, he came to realize that, a couple of months ago, the girl was walking around like it was a baby. The girl was walking around and she wasn't wearing much. She was half naked, and a small thought came, but then I just brushed it off. But then the thought came again, and then I fantasized. And then I fantasized about it. So for a few months now, I've been fantasizing, and I've been thinking about it. Even though I thought it was just a thought, man. It's not harmful. But what he didn't realize is that him allowing that thought to stay in his mind actually, like him allowing the thought to stay in his mind actually caused a seed to grow and grow and grow until eventually, when he found himself in a place where he was not in full control of himself. When he saw the girl again, he became aroused, and at that moment, he did not think straight, and he gave in to the thought and to the temptation because of how much he had fed it over the month and how much he had allowed it to play out in his mind. Now it happened because he thought about it so much, and the temptation became so big because he allowed it to become a part of him. And that's basically what I realized, that if I let this be a normal thing, like if I allow myself to keep thinking about the girl, I might just do something to someone. I mean, I'm a flippin' 18-year-old boy. I'm about to go into adulthood. I'm low-key already in adulthood. What kind of an uncle am I going to be? What kind of a CEO? What kind of a boss? What kind of a manager am I going to be? And what kind of a father am I going to be? What kind of an uncle am I right now? Because my older brother has a daughter. My cousins have daughters. My cousins are women. My sister is a woman. My mom is a woman. And they are human beings before they are temptation. They are human beings. Now, men. This is what I'm going to tell you. One of the fuels that I can think of and have had experience with that fuel rape culture is porn, sexual content in media, the conversations you have with your friends about women and to women, the thoughts that you allow to play out in your mind and the fantasies that you allow to stay in your mind fuel the possibility for you to become a rapist or a molester or even a pedophile. That's why you should be mindful of your thoughts. The scripture says, bring every thought captive to Christ. Because if you let the thoughts play out in your mind and let them grow and grow, one day you will get the shock of your life and you will ruin someone's life. You will ruin someone's life. You will ruin your daughter's life or your niece's life or some random woman who is someone's sister, someone's daughter, even someone's grandmother. Like I have been disturbed by the things I've been seeing on media. That's why I've sort of distanced myself a bit from it, but the news still surfaces everywhere of grandmothers, mothers, colleagues, daughters, babies being violated by men. And I'm not here to tell women how to act or how to handle this. I can't even begin to understand what it is that you're going through, how you're feeling, how unsafe you feel in your own home. But what the least I can do is talk to the men and to myself about how we can change, about what we can do to change, not just defending ourselves from women who are speaking out about this. No. But I want us, it should start with us. Before we start defending our integrity and our dignity as men or our place in society, we should see in ourselves, are there any thought patterns or mindsets that I have allowed myself to indulge in? Do I let lust lead me? Do I look at women in an objectifying way, or do I see them as a temptation before I see them as humans? doesn't matter whether a woman is attractive or not. It is not your right. Her body is not your right. This is I don't really like having this. I don't like the fact that I have to have this conversation with myself and with other people, because it's really unfair to women, because they play such an important role in society. None of us would be here if it wasn't for a woman. We would not be born if it was not for women, So it really hurts me and angers me that not just that I have to speak, that this is something I have to speak about, but the fact that I'm part of the problem. And I think that's where we need to start as men. We need to start acknowledging that, okay, I'm part of the problem. I may not be a rapist or a molester, but I might as well be on the path towards that. Yeah. And if you're a man and you're uncomfortable with me speaking out about this, good. You're supposed to be uncomfortable. You are not supposed to be, none of us are supposed to be comfortable with the fact that our sisters and mothers and nieces and daughters are unsafe in this world, that they can't even walk to the shop. Shouldn't be comfortable with that. And any conversation that is happening about gender-based violence right now should not make you comfortable. It should not. And if you're a woman and you're listening to this, I could say I'm sorry, but that won't do you any good now, would it? So I'm learning, and I want to use the platforms I have, whether big or small. I want to use the platforms I have to educate men, or actually to not even educate men, because I don't know it all. I'm not perfect. I don't know, but at least I can start the conversation. I can spark the fire that will be men standing up and being better, whether or not, because the reality is most of us are part of the problem.